Good evening, everybody. This is Tom Dermody, Mayor of the City of LaPorte, with a special evening after hours AMA Ask Me Anything, uh, specifically to the. I apologize. We've got a little technical here. I got to turn this off. But we wanted to have an opportunity to be in front of the public here on this Wednesday evening to talk about the water and sewer infrastructure that we're committed to fixing and the potential increase in rates that would go along with that. So we're already starting to see some interest here. And with me tonight, I have going down here Tim Werner as the water superintendent, Jerry Jackson as our wastewater superintendent, Eric Walsh from Baker and Tilly, who has helped with the financing on this. And then a special thanks to Tim Frankie, a city councilman that goes out of his way and owner of Duneland Media to help make sure the public is aware and that we have access to during the COVID time. I do hear a little bit of background noise. If the gentleman on here can make sure their volume is low. But we wanted to have a chance to make sure you have your questions answered. And the best way to start with that is a brief presentation to talk about where the city of LaPorte utilities are and where we want to head. So the main focus of this is investing in the health and safety of our community. And when we have so many good things happening in LaPorte, we're setting a new standard in LaPorte, but infrastructure, water and sewer are key components that probably most of us take for granted every day. But now we're in a situation that can no longer be ignored. And the time is now. Our water and wastewater systems are more than 100 years old. Many of our current systems were put in before 1901. We have the third oldest water system in the state, and our need, because of the age of our infrastructure, we are in need of $100 million worth of improvements. And unfortunately, with the dollars that are going into our system currently on a monthly average, the bills that you pay, the city, based on the infrastructure struggles, cannot keep up with the cost of this rapidly aging system. And I'd like for Jerry Jackson, Jerry, if you could share about this picture here. This is an actual system in our community that has to be used.
Yeah, this is the Division Plain Street sewer. Right near Ben Reese Park over there at John Street. It's a combined sewer. It serves, carries stormwater and sanitary sewer. The pipe you see coming from the side is the John Street sewer. Brick sewer is our pre-1900. They leak both in and out, so they're something that aren't built anymore. They tend to cave in. I've got one on an alley south of Lincoln Way that we need to replace that keeps caving in. We've replaced several runs of brick sewers over the years. There's a run on Indiana Avenue that we're going to replace here with the reconstruction of Indiana Avenue in 2025. This piece we haven't got to yet. It's part of the infrastructure. You always hear about the failing infrastructure that we haven't spent the money and upgraded yet. This is an example here in LaPorte.
So we have issues both in our water system and our wastewater system. And as we talk about our wastewater system, stormwater system, approximately 75% of the city's sewer system is made of combined sewers, which means it carries both wastewater and stormwater in the same line. And Jerry, if I'm not mistaken, this is no longer even approved by the EPA to be able to run systems in this way.
Yeah, you cannot build combined sewers, and cities all across Indiana are working and spending a lot of money to eliminate combined sewers. When it rains, the wastewater treatment plant gets a tremendous volume of wastewater mixed with stormwater that it has to treat. At times that exceeds the capacity of the treatment plant, and you get an overflow ditch. As you see in the picture, combined sewers are often undersized. Here, that couldn't handle the storm earlier in the year and flooded the intersection. And the kids really shouldn't be playing in this water. When
the picture here, explain exactly, again, this isn't a picture you pulled off the internet. This is service lines from LaPorte, Indiana.
Yes, thank you. That's a 4-inch cast water main that was installed here in LaPorte, early 1900s. What you're seeing there is buildup of tuberculation and corrosion from the inside of the pipe. And what that does is that creates not only less capacity for the water to fill that pipe, but that's a lot of times where our dirty water comes from is when we have these high flow situations and the water is flowing through that pipe at a very high rate. It scores that off and suspends it in the water. And that's what residents are seeing when they see the brown, orangish water is iron buildup inside the pipe. We have 22.9 miles of 4-inch main inside the city limits.
And so as well, the pump water, which we all take for granted right now, we have a header which leads into plant 2 that really is 10 to 20 years over its useful life. And if that goes out, which you've been told we're a ticking time bomb at any day, any point, we would lose 65% of water to residents across our community. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, Mayor, our east plant on the east side of town actively has the most wells going to it. So we have 6 production wells that are on a rotation that feed that plant. So the header we're talking about is what connects the raw water supply basin through the pumps into the filters, out the bottom of the filters into the city distribution system. It also has piping for all of our backwash, which backwashing would be how we wash the filters to clean them up, to remove the materials out of the filters that we remove out of the water. So if that thing was to spring a leak, a major leak, it's steel welded pipe. It would take us several weeks to replace all that piping inside the plant. I would lean to say 4 to 6 weeks probably to replace that piping. That plant does pump 65% of our daily pumping values to the city. So if that was to fail and we weren't able to recover that, that could turn into a boil order for the city or limited restrictions on water use inside the city limits.
So if 65% of the water went out, people wouldn't be able to use water, and we could have a boil order into effect. And you've been told by professionals that it's not a matter if it'll happen, it's a matter of when it'll happen. And that's a difficult situation to live with.
Yes, for sure. We, within the last couple of years, we had an engineer company come in and actually x-ray that piping, and it is thinning in several places. Like I said, just because of the amount of water we push through that piping, it's just getting worse. More and more is deteriorating away. Just a little side note, I before I took over as superintendent, I actually would work on the plants, and we had a little drip in an area of that header, and I was able to push a pencil through it. We ended up wrapping a clamp around it, which is just a temporary fix. That's how we've been fixing that header over the last couple of years, is just by putting clamps on them as temporary fixes. And we just can't do that anymore. The integrity of the pipe won't allow us to clamp down on the clamps to stop the leak. It's ready to collapse. So it is definitely an issue we need to address as a city and a community.
Great. So we have sewer, wastewater issues. We have water issues that can't delay or can't be delayed. So we're going to take action. Projects beginning in 2021. And this is what we're presenting to the City Council for their vote on Monday evening to approve infrastructure investment of $25 million in a bond. And some of the main projects that will happen across the city, besides those fixing and those repairs within the plant are sewer separation, the final phase of Monroe Manor. Jerry, Jackson, I think we've received many calls, especially you, on when Monroe Manor will be repaired.
We have we did a little more than 40% of the work in 2015, rebuilding the sewers, sanitary sewers, installing storm sewers, replacing curb, gutter, sidewalk, and roads. And the rest of the subdivision, all 60%, 60% of it, saw their neighbors all getting new infrastructure, and theirs is in really bad shape. So we've got a lot of pressure from that other 60%. Hey, come finish the job. And it's time to finish the job. That neighborhood was war era construction. The pipes are all full of roots because they use poor quality pipes, sometimes concrete, sometimes clay tile, whatever they had on hand. The roads go up and down as the curbs have sunk and there's puddles everywhere. It's in real need of work, and I'd very much like to finish it up.
And then letter and number streets where we receive numerous calls about the flooding when we get heavy rain, flood control projects, B Street area, Southmore Road, and then obviously with what we've talked about, new water supply, replace broken valves. And these are just some of the projects, but the total infrastructure ask is $25 million. And these projects will not happen overnight, but we cannot kick the can down the road anymore. We must take action now. And our plan is to begin during construction season in the spring. So Eric Walsh, if I can put you a little bit on the spot here as we compare about rates, and Eric Walsh from Baker and Tilly has really been helpful in closing on the bonds. Do you want to talk a little bit about from a cost perspective and so forth?
Sure. The structure of the $25 million of infrastructure that the mayor alluded to earlier is really a combination of two different bond issues. There's a water bond issue that will be supported wholly by the water rate adjustment that we're talking about tonight. And then there's also a sewer/stormwater bond issue. Sewer and stormwater, although they go for different uses and different purposes, are really part of the same utility, the sewage works. So there'll be a bond issue as well that'll be supported by sewer and stormwater fees. It'll go to repay that debt issue. As the mayor has on the screen here, the subsequent rate adjustments needed to support that $25 million in infrastructure and the repayment of that debt over the next approximately 20 years is what the debt issuance will go out for, is shown in the Laporte proposed 2021, 22, 23, and 24 on the screen. It will be a 4-phase rate adjustment that's being proposed for water and sewer. And then for non-residential stormwater customers, it would be a 2-phase rate increase. No increase to residential stormwater customers. Only non-residential will see the stormwater rate increase.
Thank you. So how are we paying for it? What we're asking the council to approve is a rate that will keep us still well under the state average. And I'll go here. Basically what we're asking in year one from 2021 is for an average user, resident user that's using 4,000 gallons a month, which is the state average, $4.96 an increase a month for residents, or 17 cents per day. And the last thing that myself, the department heads want to do is come before the public and ask for an increase. But these dollars are not going into our pockets or not going into department pockets. They're going out to improve our infrastructure so that we don't wait until there's complete damage or infrastructure failure, and we're coming to you to say you can only use water for an hour a day, or we have a boil order before you can drink the water, and which has been, the city has not been able to keep up to make these improvements, and the time is now. So the council could say no and kick the can down the road a little bit further. But if that happens, what we're looking at is water quality will continue to diminish. Dirty water events will occur more frequently. And again, you saw the sample which Superintendent Werner showed you with all of the sediment inside the piping. We will deal with boil orders, continued flooding and basement backups, which is one of the top phone calls that we receive from you as the residents. Potential fines from the EPA and IDEM. And Jerry, could you explain the EPA fines and how that happens?
Sure. The couple issues were to talk about. If when we have a sewer overflow, when the sewer can't hold all the stormwater and sewage and overflows either into the street or into yards or into a basement, that's something that I report to IDEM. When those sort of things happen with enough frequency, you attract the attention of IDEM and the EPA, and they come after you and force you to fix those sort of problems instead of doing it on your schedule and in the way we would prefer to do it. The other issue is we have to remove phosphorus from our wastewater at the treatment plant. That's a requirement to stop the algae blooms downstream and in the Gulf of Mexico, the dead zone. So if we don't do that, we'll be violating our discharge permit. And again, we could get fined by IDEM and EPA, and then they would make us do the project on their schedule and on our dime. So these projects are designed to avoid that sort of attention, and the city saves money when we avoid that sort of attention.
So with that, we'll take questions on Facebook. Anything that you have, we want to make sure your voice is heard, but we're asking for your support. We're asking the residents of this community to say, hey, over the next 4 years, we want this infrastructure repaired, improved on, and get us moving forward to be the community that we need to be. And again, I can't speak to why these haven't been done in the past. The city has not had the funds. They can't keep up. And with the leadership of our superintendents here, we believe it's time, and we can't wait till something drastic completely happens at any time. Again, as Tim Werner has said, we're a ticking time bomb. So if you have questions, in fact, Drew Mullen just stated, I'll gladly pay more. We really need to build more dense housing within the city to increase the tax revenue. This is just one of many examples of why we can't afford a low density dispersed city. And again, I don't think there's anybody arguing about the housing. We fully and appreciate Drew standing up and saying that. And again, that's why many of the local media have said LaPorte is a place that is having a housing boom right now. And we're going to continue that and make sure that, there are places to live within the city limits. We do have a question. Let's see. Repairs are needed, but is the quality going to be better than our road improvements? Tim, Jerry, can each of you speak about the quality of improvements that happen on this part of it?
Well, on the comment on the road improvements, part of fixing the road should be fixing the drainage. And when the roads are well drained, they last much, much longer. Some of this funding goes in tandem with repaving roads. So when we pave the roads, we can fix the drainage simultaneously. As far as the quality of the work, you need good engineering, and then you need a good contractor, and you need good inspection. Those things all go hand in hand to make sure that there's good work. And we'll have it in these projects. The contractors we have locally are good contractors, piping underground contractors, and we'll hire a good full-time inspector to keep an eye on the work.
Yeah, and I'll kind of jump on Jerry's point there. When it comes down to road paving, a lot of times right after we pave a road, just that heavy equipment and the shaking of the road will cause a water leak. So within a couple weeks, a year after they pave a road, we come out and dig it up to fix that issue. That's part of the old infrastructure that's in the ground, just failing after the stresses of time. When it comes to the quality of work, we're kind of in the same boat as Jerry. We have engineers that have worked for the city for a long time for the water department that do a wonderful job on engineering these projects, contractors, inspectors, but also the water department staff itself will be doing some of this work when it comes to valve replacements and tying in these mains. These guys are certified through IDEM with DSL certifications to do this kind of work. They go through training seminars every year. They have to keep their CEU hours up to maintain those licenses, and our water department staff takes that very seriously and puts every effort into the work they do to make sure it's quality work.
So then Brian Carlson asks, can you at least get rid of the $2 a month road maintenance fee since we're already getting hit with the $25 wheel tax? And again, the tough part of that is the city has not for years, and again, coming into this in January, does not have dollars available for road work. And away with that $2 would also go away with the wheel tax, would take away the opportunity to continue to try to repair roads. And if you have issues with roads and how they're repairing, contact me 363-7293 and we can address those, or text me, because we do want the work done right. Tim and Jerry, I know, will make sure this work is done correctly. And so Patsy Hansen said, I live on 6th Street, same as the high school between D and E. Her street floods and is wearing away at my driveway. And is this the kind of thing that is going to be repaired and fixed? And I would say yes, Jerry, but I don't want to speak for you if you want to answer that.
Give me the location again. I between what street between D and E?
6th Street, same as the high school between D and E.
We're compiling a list of drainage issues, small and large. I'm not sure that one is on the list. I'll take a look at it. There's what we call pay-as-you-go money in this, so that as smaller infrastructure projects come up, we can bring them to the forefront in the construction season. So I'm counting on hitting some of these smaller issues that they're maybe a smaller fix, but if it's your problem, it really affects you day to day. So I'll take a look at it. We'll get it on the list and get it in the schedule.
And Patsy, if you could text me at 363-7293 with the exact address, Jerry will make sure he gets it looked at and get you an answer. A question, will there be water outages during this work? And if so, for how long when it begins in the spring?
No, we don't see any large outages. Part of the project also brings some new wells in the plant 1. That's our Lake Street plant. That way we could keep up with the pumping needs of the city with having plant 2 down to make these repairs. And then when it comes to tying in these dead ends and broken valves, we have equipment on hand, the water department staff, to do active line stops, so that allows the water to still flow on the other side where we're actually doing the work. I'm not saying that there's not going to be some interruptions of service while we're replacing mains and tying new lines in, but nothing more than a day. We make sure we can tie those lines back in for the residents to make sure that they have water by the time they get home for work. Short outages, maybe nothing long-term, no boil orders, nothing to that effect.
And Jerry, the same thing, no shutdowns or any part if you're doing your work?
No, they'll as they're marching down the street doing the work, installing storm sewers. When they encounter a sewer lateral, they'll reconnect it, and the homeowner won't even see an interruption in service. We do, when you're digging and marching down the road, putting in a storm sewer, that there is some disruption in traffic. We'll be in front of your driveway briefly. We'll be blocking the road briefly. Those sort of issues can be minimized, but they can't be completely avoided. So, would ask your patience.
I was walking down Alexander and Fox. I smelled sewage really bad. The sidewalks are breaking up. We had to walk in the street. Hope that road is one that is fixed. That came from Donna Brown. Thoughts on that? And again, this increase is specifically for water and sewer. Jerry, thoughts on the sewer smell?
Usually those sort of things in combined sewer areas are because there's traps in the storm drains that prevent sewage odor from coming out of the combined sewer out through the storm drain into the air. We'll go pump those storm drains, have a look at the catch basins, make sure the traps are in place. I'd encourage people to call if they have sewage odors, because those things are almost always easily repaired, and they're awful if it's next to your home. So I'd encourage people to call and report those sort of problems.
Great. So we do have a couple also. Let's see here. I apologize for my slow. What happened to the money from the first stormwater management fee? Must have been before my time. I'm not sure what fee that is.
Probably talking about the $5.49 that went in 2 years ago. That money is paid for a number of storm improvements, and we built up the balance somewhat, so that there is money in the account for the next project. For example, when they rebuilt some of 18th Street last year, that fund paid for the storm sewer that will now connect into the letter number streets and give it an outlet. So it's I can offer more detail if interested, but it's paid for storm sewer projects.
And again, that increase is not going to happen to residents. The 549 stays at the 549 for stormwater. Related to water and sewer, this is just the same old fluff over and over. So I'm not sure fluff, but that's always interesting. How soon for Glenview Avenue? Roads are damaging my vehicles.
That the engineering is done on that work. We would bid it this winter, and it'd be a spring construction.
So we're not far away.
Yeah, that's Monroe Manor, I assume they're talking about.
Yes. Preventative maintenance, Jay Young, he's a good man. It's important, and hopefully it'll be kept up in the future. So maintenance, preventative maintenance, I think just on your current systems that you've gotten so much longer than an expected life is a good example of how well you take care of equipment and infrastructure.
Exactly. We a lot of our equipment is older, and it goes to show when you can keep pipes in plants. Our Lake Street plant was built in 1929. It's had some upgrades, but just maintaining that equipment and pumps does stretch the life out on those pumps. Same with the header at plant 2 and the pumps there. I mean, getting these materials past their useful life is because of preventive maintenance. We have a very strict maintenance program at the water department, as well as Jerry does out at wastewater, to keep up on those equipment needs as they arise.
Yeah, at wastewater, we've got a computerized maintenance system that kicks out work orders. So on Monday, the supervisor can count on a big stack of work orders sitting on the printer, and he rummages through them, signs them to the crews, schedules them, and then it's changing oil, changing belts, that sort of thing all over the treatment plant. On the sewer system side, we've got a routine with cleaning catch basins and sewers. We're working on improving it so we can have a mapping system, getting some help from City Hall personnel to to map the sewer system and assign IDs to each line, piece of pipe, each manhole, each storm drain, so that as we do repairs, we can document it. We can schedule maintenance more effectively that way. And if there is a sewer blockage, we can document that location and say, oh, look, there's been 4 in this piece of pipe for the last 3 years. We better do something about it. So that's in the works right now to use that system to improve our maintenance.
Great. And Kathy Keller Almanza just said, she will gladly pay more to not have to smell her sewer. Water value has definitely deteriorated through the years with no money being spent. So you've got a fan there, doesn't necessarily want to do it, but understands it and will support it. Elizabeth Waltman said, when are the roads in Monroe Manor going to get finished? Again, Jerry, you're focused on the sewer part, which will be next year finally.
Yeah, the roads are all part of that project. The new storm sewers, water main, and roads, curb, gutter, sidewalk. That's a complete rebuild.
Tammy Lynn says, hey, Scott and Allen Street, there is sometimes a very strong odor of sewer. Can we look into it, please, especially in the summer and spring?
Yep, take a look. That's a combined sewer area, so it's probably a trap.
And by the way, that brings me to the point, if you have questions about your sewer or your water, Jerry, what's the best number to reach the office for sewer?
219-362-2354. When you call, we log your call in a log, send it out to the crew, and attempt to resolve the problem and contact you and discuss the problem if needed. So yeah, don't hesitate to call.
Same with water. We address those issues as soon as the calls come in. The best number to call the plant would be 326-9540. We are staffed 24 hours a day, so there's always somebody there to answer the phone. Once that work order is made, the order goes down. Those problems are checked on right away through water department staff.
Good point. I want to back that up on the sewer side, because if your sewage is backing into your basement, that's an emergency. Call 1 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever it is, call.
So Tammy Lynn, please follow up with Jerry with your phone number. Follow up with Jerry at the wastewater department. He'll get you an answer. Dave Oldham said, or the public fire. I thought our tax dollars paid for fire and police, etc. They do. And I would also like to say, as an example, we don't want to just increase dollars everywhere. The budget for 2021, we're actually spending less in 2021 than in the 2020 budget. So Brian Carlson, isn't the current water bill for 5,000 gallons per month? I think the state average we were using is for 4,000, but you're billed for what you use.
Yep.
Yeah, the minimum bill is for 5,000 gallons through the water department.
So then, Dennis Hill, why would you postpone these much needed improvements instead of promoting things like one-way roads around a lake and the Chessie Trail? Set your priorities for the city instead of pacifying certain groups. Stop catering to certain groups and address what lifelong citizens of LaPorte wants and needs. I support improvements for LaPorte. However, others who reside outside of LaPorte who come and enjoy these improvements at our expense. Dennis, I can tell you this, the Healthcare Foundation are making these and they're paying for a lot of these improvements and the trails and so forth. I came into office in January. So what I can tell you is these improvements are made for city residents. The Healthcare Foundation are paying for these. I came in in January during a world pandemic, and this is a priority. This is happening in the 9 months here already because we don't want to wait till there is failure. So I appreciate that, but please, this is a priority for our residents as well as improving our city. And one thing residents told me for the last 2 years of campaigning are there's nothing to do here in LaPorte. There's nothing around our lakes. There's nothing to ride our bikes on. There's nothing to walk on. And so this is all part of for our community. I think I've got, let's see, let me check, I apologize. I think I have a couple other questions here. I requested help from the sewer department and my problem was taken care of within the month from Janice Ladusky. So there you go, Jerry. Thank the team that you were able to take care of their problem.
Appreciate that, attaboy.
As well, let's see. I think those are all the questions that we have. And any last questions, we'll kind of hang out here. If you don't mind sharing, Jerry, your phone number from the office and Tim's number as well again.
Wastewater is at 219-362-2354. You know, and the kind of calls we often handle are sewage backups, flooding, odor complaints, anything to do with water or wastewater. Stormwater, wastewater.
We would certainly, or Tim, go ahead.
And the number for the water department is 219-326-9540. And we encourage all residents to call us at any time with any questions or concerns about water, whether you see it coming up out in the road, in your yard, having a problem inside your house. We have staff on call 24 hours a day besides the operator that answers the phone 24 hours a day.
And if residents would like a tour of your facility, call and you'll set up a tour. And I mean, I think it's an impressive site on both, and you recognize for currently $16 a month on water and $24 a month on wastewater, roughly. It's pretty impressive what you get in return.
Yeah, I'd be happy to take people on tours. The wastewater treatment plant is much larger than most people think. It's I miss the days when the schools used to bring their kids here to get tours. I hope we can get that going again. But tours are interesting, and I encourage people to give a call.
Same with the water department. We encourage the public to come out and see what we do, how we do it. At any time, just give us a call. We'll get something scheduled.
Let's see. Oh, do we have any idea how much those apartments getting built will cost per month? Anywhere between $900 and $1,400 a month. Eric Walsh, anything that you have to add from your perspective?
I think the only thing, I've said it in several meetings, public meetings, Mayor, is we've been the financial advisors for the city for many years. And I went back and looked approximately the last 20 years. When I say the last 20 years, I'm including this rate adjustment that we're talking about tonight. So the fourth phase is effective in 2024. So from the early 2000s to 2024, water and sewer will have averaged less than a 3% per year rate adjustment over that almost 20-year period. If you go back and look at historical inflationary increases in operating cost, nationwide, it's in the 2.5% to 3% range. So you've really just been adjusting your utility rates, including this rate increase, pretty much equivalent to inflation. So the fact that you're able to get almost $25 million of projects done with a pretty moderate increase when you go back and look over time, I think shows that you've kept your operating costs below inflationary type increases to leave something over for projects. But I'd also reiterate what you've said several times and what Jerry and Tim have said. You know, this is $25 million of $100 million issue. So kind of looking into the future as well and having a proactive plan, I think, is the city's plan to take care of this incrementally.
So for those that are supporting this project and know, please reach out to your city council person. Let them know that you support it. It needs to pass. And let's see, I think we have some more, but if you could reach out. Let's see. Trying to think here. Sorry, I'm a little slow. I think that covers anything or everything. I'm going to hit you with some First Amendment action if you keep ducking questions. For first, again, this is based on water and sewer. We're always accessible and available to chat about anything. But again, water and sewer, we can't kick the can down the road. And we need to address this now. We just want to make sure that your voice is being heard and that you have your questions answered. And Jay Young said, hope you don't think I was suggesting you haven't been keeping up. Absolutely not. He gave you a thumbs up on the good work. And Kathy Keller also said, thanks, appreciate your time taken to discuss this. We're also readily available anytime here at City Hall. You can call 362-0151 or my cell phone, 363-7293. With that, I think all the questions have been answered, and we look forward to any conversation that you have. This vote will take place on Monday. And in the meantime, as you think of things, please reach out to Jerry Jackson and Tim Werner, two of the best people that we could have running our water and wastewater. And they are recognized as the best from the state of Indiana, and we're lucky to have them. So thank you all very much, and everybody have a great night. And thanks for sharing your evening with us on this AMA. Thank you.